Coming to you live from the fabulous MediaPlex in downtown Windsor, this is a St. Clair College journalism presentation.
Hi, I'm Mandy Matthews, and you're watching MediaPlex News Now. Alzheimer's disease is the most common form of dementia and is predicted by many in the medical community to affect 1 in 85 people by the year 2050. We sent reporter Chris Mayhew to Devonshire Mall to catch up with a group of people who are fighting back.
Windsorites are walking to keep their memories. The annual Walk for Memories was held inside of Devonshire Mall. The walk raises money for Alzheimer's care, support, and education. Maurizio Tiberia is the development officer at Alzheimer's Society of Windsor, Essex County. He started the event by giving an introduction to the participants.
Fantastic so far. It looks like we have between 200 and 250 people, and we've already raised $9,000 before the walk even started through online donations and sponsorships. So our goal is $15,000, so we're hoping to get that remaining $6,000 out of cash donations here.
One of the participants of the walk was Rod Quinney, who works for Windsor Homestead Senior Care.
Some of my clients also have Alzheimer's, so it's actually today I was supposed to bring up one of my clients to go with the walk, but due to the weather and the road conditions, he wasn't able to make it.
The walk is held each year and takes place all over Canada. Reporting for MediaPlex News Now, I'm Chris Mayhew.
Windsor's City Council has been in discussion of plans for the new City Hall building. Veronica Jorkowski tells us more.
Out with the old and in with the new. The City of Windsor has been discussing plans for a new City Hall facility, but has recently been forced to change its course.
Capital cost of the building will be less. The building will be smaller. Because it's only the city now.
The agreement between the City of Windsor and the federal government in regards to the Paul Martin building on Ouellette Avenue has been broken, leaving the city on its own.
Anywhere else in the report where there's reference to tenancies or tenants or public works candidate, you can scratch those out as well.
The plan was to rebuild the 350 City Hall Square West building in the adjacent parking lot, thereby transferring 400 federal employees and providing the Paul Martin building as a space for the university's law school.
It also underscores an important priority that we've worked hard on, which is adaptive reuse of heritage buildings.
Mayor Eddie Francis says the government wants to sell the building as is and that it will be difficult for them to do so.
This building requires a significant amount of money, and I'm convinced they're not going to get a better deal than ours. But I stand to be corrected. Francis
says that regardless of losing a tenant, he is not closing the door just yet. The city has a confirmed budget of $34.7 million for 105,000 square feet of use. Windsor residents expressed how they feel about gaining a new City Hall facility.
I don't see it there's a necessity for it. I feel like we have a functioning building now.
You know, the building's old. I mean, that's just all there is to it. It wasn't designed to last forever, and it's not lasting forever.
Plans for City Hall will continue within the same time frame with the elimination of 2 floors and $11 million.
The City Hall report was deferred until Monday and will reconvene at the executive meeting where the next steps will be discussed. For MediaPlex News, I'm Veronica Jorkowski.
The council reconvened last night. Councilors voted 10-1 to proceed with the construction of the new City Hall building. Now for a quick look at the weather. How are things outside, Madison?
It is very, very cold out here, Mandy. Right now it is 15 degrees Celsius, and it will dip down to -25 tonight. I'll be back with your 3-day forecast later in the show. Mandy, back to you.
Thanks, Madison. Now, between global warming and the polar vortex, there sure is a lot of fuss. So we sent Kyle Simpkins out into the cold to try to make some sense of it all.
Just when you thought the polar vortex was over, well, it's back for round 2. With snow removal and road repairs all over the area, what is the cost of the cold to the City of Windsor? Pete Matheson, maintenance manager of the City of Windsor, says as temperatures drop, costs go up.
We've gone through half of our original $3.5 million budget, although the mayor did go back to council and get an additional $1 million for us.
Matheson says there is a good reason for big spending.
The mayor's made it very clear that public safety is number one when it comes to winter control. So we need to spend what we need to spend to make the roads safe and let transportation and traffic move in the city of Windsor.
City engineer Mario Sonego says to predict a winter budget, you have to rely on the law of averages.
You know, anytime you budget for winter effects, whether it's snow removal or salt or anything like that, you kind of deal with what you have in an average winter.
So far, the city has spent about $1.75 million on snow removal and winter repair. But what about you? How can you and your wallet survive the polar vortex? Renee Kellich, owner of Renee's Automotive Service in LaSalle, says batteries and alternators are the most common problem areas for your vehicle during the winter months.
So have your battery tested just to make sure it's up to where it should be. So, if you lose cranking amps, which means the car doesn't turn over as fast as it should, car more than likely won't start in the cold weather.
Killich says a battery test here at his shop is free of charge, but usually it's not that easy. In most cases, a diagnostic or service call is in order, and those can run you about $35 each. A battery, on the other hand, can run you somewhere in the range of $175. To avoid all these problems, Killich does have one piece of advice.
If you have a block heater, plug it in.
Kyle Simpkins, MediaPlex News.
Inspiration comes in many forms and is often the driving force behind an artist's work. Reporter Haley Trelo caught up with a local artist to discuss his latest project.
The busy routine inside industrial walls became Windsor and Cogeco's subject. But it wasn't the environment he focused on, it's the people.
My father works at the Windsor salt mine. My mother and stepfather work at the Windsor assembly plant, as I work there myself. So it's something I experience firsthand, just talking to people, and I try to recreate certain situations through drawings. Being from Windsor, you have skateboard culture, you have the live music culture around here, obviously the labor culture. There's all these little subcultures that I've been a part of or experienced in my time living here that all have their own influential qualities. Right now, talking about the labor culture is important because it's a very complex situation looking at Detroit and how that region really flourished through labor, and now it's taken a turn, whereas Windsor is in the same, I don't want to say one-trick pony nature, but I guess we could go that route. Just how instances like that affect Windsor.
On the second floor of the Windsor Art Gallery, you will find one of Cogeco's pieces being displayed for the Part 2 segment of their labor exhibit.
I set up a lot of photo shoots before I even approach a drawing. But for that specific drawing, I set the figure up and lit the photographs, took a bunch of photos with different objects, different lighting, and I made a drawing out of a group of photos. My favorite thing is when I'm doing a show, a lot of people come up to me and they'll look at the pieces and they'll tell me what they got from it. And that's more effective to me than me telling you exactly what I want to say. It's the idea of introducing ideas to other people, to take a look at things a little differently than they would, to really look at your community in a positive light or specific people in a positive light.
Though some things may not last forever, Cogeco says there will always be art. The Border Cultures exhibit where you can see Cogeco's piece will be displayed until April 13th. Reporting for MediaPlex News, I'm Haley Trelout.
A little bit of Broadway is coming to the Cleary. The award-winning musical Avenue Q is being staged by Cardinal Music Productions. With its puppets and one-of-a-kind comedy, the aim is to draw in a big crowd. Reporter Alice Hewitt tells us more.
Gotta find my purpose before it's too late.
An award-winning hit musical is once again drawing in audience members with its musical satire. Avenue Q tells the story of recent college grad Princeton and the search for his ultimate purpose in life. Along the way, he builds relationships with the humans, puppets, and monsters that live in his neighborhood. Actor Christopher Lawrence Menard says the show is like an adult Sesame Street, except for the fact the puppets have real-world problems.
But I don't want a girlfriend until I find my reason to be alive. People grow up with Sesame Street, and that's something that I think is a commonality for people who see the show. Mm-hmm. So, you know, with a musical, you have to sometimes try to find your audience. When you have Avenue Q and you have this cast of puppets who, you know, look like the people that you see on Sesame Street and have this sort of built-in cute factor, they're like Muppets. Mm-hmm. people want to see that. They want to experience that. They want to remember that aspect of their childhood. However, Avenue Q is not Sesame Street. So, you come in with that expectation, and then what you get is shocking and hysterically funny.
This is the second time Cardinal Music Productions has staged Avenue Q. The first time the group staged it at the Cortisone, but they're making good use of the larger space at the Cleary.
We had a smaller set, and it was very intimate. That added some really interesting elements to the show, but I think in this great space here, and when you get to see the set, it's phenomenal. It's huge. We got so much more room to play with, and that's going to add all kinds of other dimensions. We can really let loose and let her go.
The show opens this Friday and runs for 2 weeks. Tickets are $25 to $30, although a student discount is available. For MediaPlex News, I'm Alice Hewitt.
If you like skateboarding and movies, then as Liam Higgins reports, you are bound to like Lower Echelon.
Windsorites packed into a local bar downtown to see the premiere of a new skateboarding video this past Friday. The event that was held at Villains Bistro on Palisha Street downtown between Chatham Street West and University Avenue drew roughly 100 people throughout the night to view the 26-year-old local skateboarder and filmmaker Andrew Fricke's video, Lower Echelon. The video included numerous skateboarders from around the Windsor, Toronto, and Detroit area, including Bell River skateboarders Chris Roy, Bruce Lemire, Ryan Dixon, Jamie Jeffrey, and Fricke himself. While this is the 7th skateboarding video Fricke has made, he said there's been a lot of changes that have occurred over the years.
Each video, we've gotten a little better with technology, better equipment, technique, and then so it's gradually been, our skating's progressed and the quality of the films have progressed at the same time.
Lemire, who is featured in Lower Echelon, says he's been in every single video Fricke has made and that it's been a lot of fun being a part of it.
We're a pretty tight-knit crew that hangs out together all the time, and it's got that kind of vibe from the video.
Those interested in purchasing copies of Lower Echelon can message Andrew or any other members of the Bell River crew on Facebook. I'm Liam Higgins reporting for MediaPlex News Now.
And Adam El Baba explores the skateboarding trend here in Windsor.
In 1999, Tony Hawk landed the 900.
Are you kidding me?
In 2012, Tom Shar, a 12-year-old, one-upped him by landing the first ever 1080. When the sport began in the early 50s, sidewalk surfing was seen as just a fad and almost vanished completely.
In the beginning, I just remember skating down the road with my friends all the time. I feel like I fit in. It's like a big group or a family. I seen X Games on one day. I just wanted to go do it. I don't know, I just didn't like team sports. I love it. I hate being told what to do, and I like the freedom of doing what you want, because nobody can tell you how to skate, because it's your own style. So if I have a bad day at school, or I'm angry, just when I get on my board, it just changes like my whole mood.
Because skateboarding is not about being better than other people. Skateboarding is more about self-progression. There's no regulations, like you don't have to do a certain trick, or you don't have to, go to certain places at a certain time. It's just whenever you feel like.
What's something that feels really good? Like getting an A on a test, I don't know, having sex, like skateboarding, it honestly just doesn't even really compare. There's no other feeling like it when you land a trick. It's just...
And the idea of like skating something that's not even necessarily built for skating, like when a new place opens up and they've built like a ledge somewhere, they weren't thinking like, oh, somebody might want to skate this, but like we see it and we like want to go skate it, and that's like what we do.
I see everything as a skate spot, like everything. Can be a homeless guy sleeping on a ledge, and I'm gonna skate that ledge later.
There's definitely more people skating now, and I think it's more accepted. But back then, when I was 12 skating, the minute you hopped on your skateboard, people were always harassing you. I think it's better now.
One of the earliest skate brands was Powell Peralta, introduced in the 70s. Around 20 years later, Plan B emerged, followed by World Industries. Today, the brand growth is permanent, with an estimated $4 billion spent a year on skateboarding.
to recover, but I think it's the same reason I started way back when. I just enjoy it. It's fun, good stress reliever. Again, it's a good adrenaline dump too when you're flying through the park. So,
anyone who skateboards, no one's going to last in skateboarding if it's not something they love to do, regardless of whether they're the best at it or not. So, I mean, it might be more of a lifestyle thing to some people than a sport. But
there's no other feeling like it when you land a trick. It's just, you feel accomplished with yourself. Like, you can try it 50 times, you can try it 10 times, but when you land it, it just feels so good.
That's what I'm saying. Attaboy. 5 years. It's like 5 years.
I don't think it's a team. I feel it more as a family because, like, we call each other, we all gather, we go skate street, we skate parks, and everybody just gets along. Nobody really argues.
It's more like you and your friends go out and you all can like do your own thing and all feed off each other and pump each other up. Whereas like as a team sport, it's like you have to work together to achieve a common goal.
it's more hype. You're getting psyched off each other, you know what I mean? You're just as happy to see your friends land something or to learn something new as you are yourself, you know?
When it all boils down to it, we all do and love the same thing, skateboarding.
It's so fun. It's like crack. You gotta keep doing it. Once you do it once, you can't stop. There is a bad reputation. There's people that do that. They'll go vandalize things, but there's the group that just wants to do it because they love it, and then the community doesn't understand, and they think that we all have that bad reputation.
Now on to the weather forecast. Madison, what's it looking like for the rest of the week?
Thanks, Mandy. Did you know that winter doesn't officially end until March 20th, and some parts of the country still see snow in June and July? And now on for your 3-day weather forecast. Wednesday will be partly cloudy with a high of -10 and a low of -18. Thursday you can expect to see some snow flurries with a high of -4 and a low of -12. And Friday will have some variable cloudiness with a low of -4 and a high of -5. That's it for me here on the corner of Victoria and University. Mandy, back to you.
Thanks, Madison. 2 out of 3 people in Canada suffer from mental illness and never tell anyone because they fear judgment. Reporter Sean Prevost took a look into what Bell Canada is doing to help fight the silence.
Bell's Let's Talk Day is being held today in an attempt to raise awareness of mental health stigma in Canada. In cities, schools, and even news agencies across the country, the talk has begun. As part of the campaign, for every text message sent, long-distance call made, tweet using hashtag #BellLet'sTalk, or Facebook share of the Let's Talk image, Bell will donate 5 cents to help fund mental health initiatives from coast to coast. Dr. Mohsen Beg, director of the University of Windsor's Counseling Center, says the day is being used to help educate people about mental illness.
So I think it's just building a network of support and increasing the knowledge that, you know, there are resources out there. You don't have to suffer in silence.
And we learned from Dr. Bag that there is a 24-hour completely anonymous helpline for post-secondary students called Good to Talk. For those who need to speak to someone, you can reach a counselor at 211. In 1993, the band Big Sugar recorded the album 500 Pounds with the help of Windsor's own Kelly Hoppy, playing harmonica and tenor sax. Kelly, aka Mr. Chill, would become an official member of the band in 1994. Murad Erzinçlioglu caught up with Kelly in our studio on this edition of 5 Minutes With.
I'm Murad Erzinçlioglu, and today we're spending 5 minutes with Kelly Hoppy. Kelly is Windsor's, if not Canada's, preeminent harmonica player and a member of the esteemed and platinum-selling blues rock band Big Sugar. Kelly, you're known as many as one of our finest blues musicians across Canada, but people may not realize that you have past experience in journalism. Can you tell me about that time?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I often, will tell people that seems like a in another lifetime. I had this other another life going on, as it was a long time ago. But yeah, I went to University of Windsor and graduated there with an honors BA in communication studies in, I don't want to shock you, but it was in the mid-70s. and I, shortly thereafter, within about a year of graduating, I worked up in Ottawa with a film company, but I ended up working at local CBC television and in the film department as a news film editor, and also a current affairs and editor as well, but mostly in news for the period of about 8 years. And it was, yeah, a great time. I really enjoyed my time there.
How did your education at the University of Windsor inform your musical sensibility?
It's, you know, back then I wasn't I'm sort of an adult musician in that I came to, that sounds kind of strange, but I came to music late in life as a professional. I didn't play even as a teen, other than took lessons that I was miserable at on keyboard and things like that. But interestingly, there was a country music show produced at the local Windsor station, CBC, and because they did a lot of production there because of their proximity to the border. And they had to produce their own programming besides just even news because of border protection laws. And there was a country music show there called Sun Parlor Country. Tommy Owen Show, I think, was another name for it. It had various names. And there was a producer there who was a big fan of the harmonica, the producer of that show. And he just put out the question just to somebody, like anybody in town here play the harmonica? Do you know anybody who does? And somebody, at that point I was like, I played harmonica at parties, you know. Couple beers and I might pull out a harmonica, because I've been messing around with it. And it kind of went from there, and actually it turned me into a professional musician. You know, I had to do the television work. Like I auditioned, he said, oh, I like what you do, let's do this. And I ended up playing the Tommy Hunter Show within about 3 years, which was a national CBC country music show, variety show. And that's, if I can say that, you know, there's a bit of serendipity there, but I took communications at the University of Windsor, and I ended up at the CBC shortly thereafter, and that's kind of the connection to the music from my university career. Gets me into the television station where I end up playing harmonica too. I don't know what it's got to do with cutting film. It doesn't really have anything to do with it, but that's sort of the thread there for getting me into music. And it really gave me confidence to play music professionally.
2014 marks 20 years since you joined Big Sugar. Mm-hmm. What is your fondest memory over that time?
Yeah, you know, it's just the experience itself over that time, meaning like being 20 years. It's just been a really great experience professionally, personally. Everybody in the band, we've been together all that time. At least myself, Gary Lowe, our bass player, and Gordy Johnson, obviously. And some other personnel left. Everybody that's ever played in the band, and great people to be with, you know, as just people, let alone their quality of their work. But I will pick one thing, and this seems kind of not self-congratulatory, but we were doing a festival in Newfoundland, just outside St. John's. We'd become, which is nice, we'd played a few gigs with Great Big Sea. And it was this beautiful summer evening, and it was on the day of my birthday, coincidentally. And Gordy let the guys in Great Big Sea, Alan Doyle and the rest, know that was my birthday. And they announced that to the audience. And there was about, 8,000-10,000 people at this festival. And it's kind of embarrassing, but it was really sweet. And it's such a beautiful setting. I love Newfoundland's maybe my favorite place in Canada. And Alan Doyle got the audience to sing Happy Birthday to Mr. Chill. And so that's a pretty fond memory. That's one of them anyway.
In your opinion, how has the music industry changed over your 20 years with the band?
Well, yeah, that could, there's so many ways. I mean, if I focus in on one thing, because I guess we could talk for hours about how music has changed in that time. Certainly the digital, if you want to call it the invention, but the technological change going from analog to digital, which leads us to around, the late 90s, early 2000s, to, peer-to-peer acquiring of music. What that did to any band, like besides us, all bands that were out at that time, was really decrease in a major way a revenue stream, because I'm just talking about Big Sugar in our couple albums, 96 and 97, 98, the albums we had out at that time, they would go gold in Canada and platinum within a year. They would go gold in 6 or 7 weeks, was 50,000 units. There's a substantial revenue stream there. And if you go to 2001, when Napster's sort of in full gear, or full-on mode at that point, I don't know what fraction I could put, to say almost, it's not overnight, but within a couple of years, that revenue stream almost disappears. And that's just one thing I'll point to. And I'm not just, it sounds tough, but there's other things we could talk about with regard to that. But that's maybe the most major thing that I can point to.
I'm Ryder Zinchlioglu, and we've just spent 5 minutes with Kelly Hoppy. Kelly, if you'd be so kind to play us out.
Thanks for tuning in. I'm Mandy Matthews, and this has been MediaPlex News Now.
MediaPlex News Now is a production of the St. Clair College Journalism Program.